everybody, and welcome back to Send News, the Inside Gaming podcast where we talk all about video games, and we got a lot to talk about this week. But first, the introductions. I'm Brian.
I'm Alana.
I'm Evan Campbell at Darth Burrito, and I'm excited to talk about Mario's 35th birthday, 35th anniversary. It's finally happened. I can't wait for today's episode of Send News.
The rumors were true. Yeah, this has been long predicted, but even then, Nintendo managed to drop some surprises on us. You guys probably have seen the Direct at this point, but the headline was the Mario 3D collection with Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. It was expected. I'm still stoked about it. What did you guys think?
Weird that they waited so long.
Yeah, it's weird to do an anniversary in September.
Right, because it was technically this year.
Yeah, we're in month 9 of the year.
Yeah, and we can get into the release dates for everything too, which are a little bit strewn about. You can imagine in a pre-COVID world where some of these all hit at the same time. I mean, obviously some things are available today. The new collection, the new All-Stars, basically a port, I guess. It's a remaster of a port, I suppose you could say.
I played a little bit of it. It looked like a pretty straight port of the SNES All-Stars collection, which is a great collection.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's not to undersell the work of getting those pixels to look real nice and clean on a higher res display. That is definitely something that takes a lot of time and consideration to figure out and get it to work. But yeah, I think like the rest of the stuff, there's I don't want to step on your toes here, Brian, about everything that's in the story, but like the Game & Watch device, the 3D.
That to me was like a highlight. I want that Game & Watch now.
I actually still haven't looked at it. Let me look it up right now.
It looks sweet.
So some stuff's coming out in November, like the Game & Watch thing. Another thing is coming out in October, and then I'm not sure where 3D. Gosh, what is it? Super Mario 3D All Stars.
Later this month, right? I think. Or wait, is it October?
See, here I have it all.
They are all over the place.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Is what I mean.
September 18th is 3D All Stars. So I mean, we're talking 2 weeks away.
Okay.
One thing I do like that Nintendo does is they typically wait until the stuff is very close to releasing. And they did that with 3D All Stars. I feel like if that wasn't coming out until next year, people would be a little bummed, but 2 weeks, that's fine. The timed release is weird, or the limited release. It's going to be available
versions,
until March 31st. What does that mean? So maybe they'll break up the collection after that and sell them separately.
They've recreated the Disney Vault, and now you're hosed.
But it has to be a financial decision because March 31st is intentionally the end of Q1 2021.
Yes.
So they've intentionally made that date the end of that financial period. Which means that it's for sales. My guess is that they're trying to urgently drive sales to make those up in this period of time, so that when they take it to their stockholders or whatever, they're like, look, we sold this many, and people had to buy them before that date because then they would disappear. And then a month later, when it doesn't matter anymore, they'll re-release them, which is very manipulative.
Yeah, they're trying to goose sales right at the end, to put that artificial limit at the end of it.
They're trying to increase these 2 quarters, basically. It's like Q4 this year, Q1 next year. They're just trying to boost the sales. So be like, if you don't buy it now, you'll never get it. So people are like, oh shit, even if they're never going to play it, which...
And what else do they have coming out the rest of this year? Or even through, it's pretty bare. So I think maybe this is going to be one of their big ones.
Oh yeah, and I mean, as frustrated as I am about like you said, Alana, it's definitely manipulation, but it's working. It's like full-heartedly. I am so in. I probably wouldn't have played the Super Mario 35 Battle Royale thing, but now that I know it's limited, I only have that much time to be the best. And once it's done, I'll be the best forever. Right?
It's true.
I don't know.
I like the Battle Royale thing. Yes. I think it's very reminiscent of Tetris 99. You're kind of playing your own game, but then you can interfere and send enemies over into other people's games. I think it has a lot of potential. I find it hard to believe if it's a success that it'll end on March 31st, though.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Or it'll come back in a different packaging or something.
Yeah.
I think they'll bring it back. So, again, if they're just trying to get sales for these last 2 quarters, again, probably because, like you said, Brian, they are really bare. There's not much else coming out. Obviously, they did really well in Q1. I think it was Q1 with Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
They still need basically what this indicates, I think, is that there's going to be major releases Q2 next year that they already have slated for that spot that are going to sell well.
Yeah, that's been reported. Yeah, that the Switch Pro is allegedly coming out next year, and they're going to release a slew of games around that time, whenever it comes out.
Yeah, I feel like that it's Q1 they're worried about, then Q2 already has stuff in it, which means they could release it at any time, really.
Yeah.
They'll surely delay so people don't get too mad. I don't imagine they do a cheaper version because the same thing happens if people get too mad and Nintendo never discount anything.
So
it's so blatant, and you rarely see companies do things this blatantly to be like, but we need our sales results in these quarters to be good. It's nuts.
Yeah,
it's definitely not their style, but under the gun and under the, I guess from what we were reading earlier in the year, the work from home stuff was hitting Japan harder than here because people weren't set up. They didn't have internet infrastructure in like their small apartments and stuff, like Tokyo apartments, or how people are living in Japan. It's a lot different than here. So they did run into some constraints with probably all sorts of things: communication, sharing files, keeping stuff as secret as they do at Nintendo. I mean, this announcement today is such a surprise. I don't think anybody, maybe it's a big day for Nintendo, a bigger day for Jeff Grubb, who's been saying that this thing is coming since that VentureBeat post like forever ago. But yeah, I have a list of all the dates. I want to run through it, and I want to talk about some too big omissions. So the new Game & Watch thing that it's like a Super Mario World clock plus the old Game & Watch ball game with Mario throwing a ball. November 13th, that's a couple months away. That's 2020.
That's got the first Super Mario Brothers and the Lost Levels preloaded, right?
Right, okay. Exactly. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which they didn't talk much about. They just had like a little tease where they showed the dungeon, which could be really cool. February 12th, 2021. Super Mario Bros. 35, which is the Battle Royale thing. That's October 10th until March, like we said. So that's, again, a couple months away. Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, which I really want to talk about. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
October 16th. So that's also this year. Of course, they had a bunch of mobile games, a bunch of merch, some shoes and like clothes and stuff. And then the Super Mario All-Stars Switch version, which is available now. And then, of course, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which is September 18th. So, yeah, like a good chunk of it, very close. But then that Super Mario 3D World slipped into next year, right? So that would be, different.
I would think that would be the easiest one to port over because so many of those Wii U ports just seem pretty straight. But they're obviously adding some new content with the Bowser's Fury. I mean, they didn't talk about it, but just to try to sweeten the pot a little bit, because it's going to be $60.
So what's missing? I guess we didn't say, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, 64, Sunshine, Galaxy, but I feel like there's almost another version of Mario Galaxy that's more complete.
2?
Yeah. Where's Mario Galaxy 2? What? The cynical answer is, they're going to do like a Super Mario Galaxy 2. Like, this is the version to own. Maybe they pack it in with one. It's
gotta be.
And like, here's $60, buy this one. It's like, we've done even more to it or whatever. But it seems weird to omit it in this.
Yeah, it's got to be a separate release. Charge
or a
more
Galaxy
for sure.
collection. Yeah, and they have those two.
That'd be cool.
And more for me, Super Mario 3D Land, which was an awesome 3DS game.
Yes.
No mention. And also,
that was good.
Yeah, even at the end of that direct, they showed, the history of Mario games, and Super Mario Galaxy 2 was oddly omitted from that like montage. And I was like, what's happening?
And it was
here?
so good. I mean, I liked it better than Galaxy, but they're both great.
Yeah.
I don't know why they must have plans for Galaxy 2, but I'm assuming maybe it's not ready yet. Maybe they just they ran out of time and they're like, we've got to put this out this year because it's the anniversary.
Or because it's Nintendo, it could mean literally nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
And they just admitted it. Well, like,
that's right.
Whoops.
I never know what they're doing.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to do it. I have no idea. Very strange.
They're the most impenetrable company. Yeah.
Very, very strange decisions. Just across the board, yeah.
But let's talk about that Mario Kart Live thing.
It looks cool, but my house isn't clean enough to have that.
My house isn't big enough is what my thought keeps being. Like, I guess the idea is that, so I guess for anyone who hasn't even seen the footage, you get these physical checkpoints that you put down in your apartment, and then there's an AR map that's created And I think you are actually driving a little mini cart around your apartment, while in the game you're seeing it and it looks like actual Mario Kart, but there is physically something actually driving around your house or whatever. It looks really, really cool. Obviously, like, a lot of limitations for a lot of people. I don't know how well they're expecting this thing to sell, or if it's like a more Labo sort of like kid-friendly approach thing, which I think is very cute. And I would have loved this as a kid.
Oh, man.
I mean, you're both dads.
My kids will, well, I had two thoughts. One, my kids would love it. Two, they will break it.
My immediate thought is this cannot possibly work. Like, you see where Mario hits Luigi with the shell, and then the toy in real life stops. And I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be a fun experience for anyone who's actually playing as Luigi. Like Mario Kart in real life, maybe not as fun as it is in the game, because the rubber banding is not going to work, right? You can't rubber band that, like, the physical placement of those cars. But also, like, just the tech in general, I have concerns and fears, but conceptually, like, my mouth was like a wide agape. I was like, this is amazing. I really want this. I also want to mod these cars, like turbocharge them, put outdoor wheels on them, take them in the dunes or something, and just, like, turbocharge the engines, whatever you got to do. But, like, that, it's just another example of Nintendo
really cool.
Thinking out of the box and giving us something, whimsical, and
they will take any excuse to make a physical toy. Like, they love
they consider
toys.
themselves to be a toy company and not a video game company. That's which like, it shows and stuff like this. And I really do think it's very fun. I was gonna say I don't know that I'll get it, because, like, what am I gonna do in my apartment by myself? Just, it's so small. Like, what's the plan here, really? But I feel like this is a super fun thing to, like, we're back at the office. Would be really fun.
Oh yeah.
We'd have a great time.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Switches you need, or, like, does everyone have to own a physical car, or can I tap my car?
Does it tap out
someone
at 2?
else's toy?
Right? Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
A few questions.
It does have a potential for some really people to make some cool tracks, and I would imagine, like, some cool, videos coming out of this.
Yeah,
like,
for
the
sure.
Physical race. So, like, that's cool. Kind of opening it up to a little bit more of the creativity on the community's part.
Mm-hmm. And that one's October 16th, so not that far away.
Yeah.
And I think it's $100 US or $99.99 for the Mario and Luigi set, which pretty good value, I think, too, for a game and 2 toys like that are actually motorized. Like, that's pretty sweet.
Considering what they charge for cardboard, I think it's a stellar deal.
Right.
What we paid for cardboard is a more valuable one than that.
That's a documentary like 10 years away, what we paid for cardboard. The new video game documentary about Nintendo and then them limiting.
They just keep getting us, man.
Digital copies,
I wonder, will is the game part of it, I guess it's just sort of the AR compatibility part. Like, there's not gonna be any, like, separate tracks on it because you're designing the tracks. So it's I don't know, it's one of those, I feel like I might hang back for a second and watch, or see them out in the wild, and it's something I would like to get my hands on and try first, maybe before I bought it.
I definitely want to try it. I'm sure they'll work with a lot of people to make a lot more footage than this obviously very clearly structured trailer.
Right.
Because it's hard to even get a grasp of how it will actually work or how limited it is. But you're right, if there's any rubber banding or connection issues, this just doesn't even work for a second.
That's right.
Just completely falls apart.
For sure.
Which I guess does apply to a lot of video games these days, but feels like this is especially bad when it's physically in front of you. But I think it's cool. I thought this was, like, very unexpected and very exciting, and I really do applaud their creativity over and over and over again in an industry that often is afraid to be creative in favor of, Nintendo could have gone just full games as service microtransactions on everything. It's not like they haven't done that in the mobile market, but they continue to try to innovate, and I really love that about Nintendo, despite thinking some of their business practices are fucking garbage, like their online service.
Or their refund policies,
they just updated the refund policy for pre-orders. Yeah, did you guys see that?
I saw that. Congrats,
Nintendo, for
you done did it.
You haven't treated us like complete garbage.
Slightly less garbage.
I do like, to Alana's point, I do like that in this industry there's just this company out there doing random things like Nintendo. I don't think there's too many other industries with an example like that. And I like that.
Who are successful too.
Yeah, they're a major player and they're just beloved by every, Nintendo gets respect from everybody. And so it's cool to see them constantly, iterate. I mean, they gave us the Switch. I mean, people thought handhelds and portables were dead, and then they just completely proved everybody wrong. So.
And now we're like, it's the best thing ever. I want it on Switch all the time.
Right,
they really made it work.
Yeah.
We kind of spoke about this on a daily a bit, and maybe it'll get cut. I don't know if it'll make the edit, but thought I would ask you guys, do you consider Mario to be nostalgic?
Yes.
Is Mario a nostalgia thing for you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
How does that work when Mario is current?
Yeah.
How can you have something that is continuously releasing also be nostalgic?
So is Mickey Mouse.
Games.
Like, so is everything else. I would say that Mario is beyond nostalgia. He's, become his own
pop culture.
He's the Mickey Mouse of video.
Yeah,
games.
that Nintendo is our
basically.
Disney in a lot of ways. Yeah, like so much so. But yeah, go ahead, Brian. I don't want to cut you.
I think too, just some of the older games, like seeing Sunshine again, seeing 64. I don't know. It's not like pure nostalgia, because I agree with what you're saying. They make new Mario games all the time. I mean, Odyssey just came out a few years ago, so it's not like it's a dead property. I don't know. It's something about that Disney scarcity, I guess, of bringing back some of the older ones from the vault. And the games have changed a lot over the years. I mean, just the move to 3D, and then just
I think that's probably part of it. Is that the nostalgia we have is for the 2D Mario we knew, and then maybe the early 3D Mario. Yeah. But Mario is very different now. Like, I don't have nostalgia for Mario Galaxy.
Oh
no,
I think there's people who do though. I think they're. I mean, it's that weird thing where you think about like people who grew up like never having played a Halo game or something, and maybe like something like Halo 4 or 5 was their first one, or Infinite might be their first one, which is wild to think. But I think there is a lot of love for Galaxy. I know there's my brother-in-law is like maybe 6 or 7 years younger than me, and he spent just hours playing things like Thousand Years Door and like Galaxy and Galaxy 2 specifically. Like, he played through both of those games back to back and just loved them to death. I'm sure that, like, now he has nostalgia for that in the way that I have nostalgia for Super Mario World, right? But yeah, I don't know. Nostalgia is it's a good talking point. It's
an interesting one.
Yeah, it's interesting because like my kids now, they barely have played Mario games, but they love Mario. If they see me like working on if I'm looking at a YouTube page and there's a thumbnail and just the smallest Mario in the corner of that thumbnail on YouTube, they'll be like, "There's Mario, Dad! I see him. He's right there." And it's already like weirdly triggered for them in a way. And I don't know if it's because they know that I like it, or like I've showed them before. I'm like, "Oh, there's Mario," and they know. But it's weird. Like, so like they don't have time to have, they haven't been alive long enough, I feel like, to have nostalgia for characters or whatever, but it's still the design of it and like his presence and everything is like weirdly drawing, I guess. I don't know.
I never thought about like why kids like Mario. Yeah. Obviously I loved Mario as a kid. I continue to enjoy Mario. Mario is currently like right there. I have him as he calls my keys, which is very cute. But I wonder if there is just something about that like happy, lighthearted design that particularly stands out. Like, as a kid, I loved Yoshi more than anything else.
Oh yeah.
And Tweety Bird was a big one for me because I feel like there's similar vibe. It's just like this kind of cute animal, which I can understand why that appeals to a little girl particularly. Whereas I feel like Mario is still,
he's like a weird guy with a mustache. Yeah, as a dad, I feel.
But he's very pleasant and smiling all the time.
Yeah, completely weird about it. But it's like, no, that's just Mario. Don't worry about it. I mean, they also see like Doom Guy, and they're like, "Dad, who's that?" I was like, "Oh, that's Doom Guy. Don't worry about him."
When you're older.
Yeah. I also think that depending on how old you are, you can be nostalgic for different eras of Mario. I mean, there was kind of arcade Mario / Donkey Kong. There was NES Mario, and then kind of moving forward, there was Mario World, and then you get into the 3D stuff, and there's people who obviously, I mean, 35 years ago, I mean, tons of players weren't even alive when it came out. I still feel a huge bit of nostalgia for the first 3 games, 1, 2, and 3, just because I remember as a kid like wanting an NES so bad. It was like the kid in the Christmas Story wanting the BB gun, and I felt that way. And then my parents kind of tricked me, and they sort of acted like it was sold out everywhere and they couldn't get one. And apparently it was, but they got my grandmother in Louisiana to buy one there and ship it. And like, yeah, it was like still to this day such a great like holiday memory.
Oh,
yeah, and I just remember firing it up and playing that game forever. And the graphics, compared to like the Atari and all that were just such a leap forward. And It was just, it has some special memory, and I think it's also a kind of a throwback to the more kind of PG era video games, and just when kind of everyone could play it, and you knew it wasn't. I don't know. You could let kids play it and adults, and everybody kind of enjoyed it. So I don't know. It's kind of a wholesome memory for me.
I think you're right that the fact that Mario has changed so much is what allows us to feel nostalgia for it, because there are so many different iterations of Mario.
Yeah.
Which is massively to Nintendo's credit, that they have updated that IP with the times repeatedly without being too late. I don't think they've ever really screwed it up. It's not like I think every Mario game is a 10, but
they've hit a consistent quality.
Games.
Exactly. I can't think of a real stinker.
I feel like there's one word that puts all of this into perspective as a comparison. You could just say Sonic and be like,
tons of trash. They tried, but they didn't keep it up to date as well. And it isn't easy, but it's also that with Mario particularly, and I feel like this just fits with it being, 35th anniversary for us to get into this anyways. Even the first Mario game you could give to someone today and it would still play incredibly because their real focus was on, let's make sure it feels good for Mario to jump. You cannot fuck with Mario's jump. I know that Miyamoto was really specific about, here's how he jumps, here's how it feels, don't change Mario's jump. And I think sticking to that every step of the way means they never rushed out a game that was poor quality. They stuck to a vision across this many years. So that all of those games hold up.
I think
my kids play. Sorry, my kids will play the old ones too, and the pixels still hold up. It doesn't look. I mean, it's obviously an older game, but you can still enjoy it. I think the power-ups too were kind of brilliant. They were very simple, but very gratifying. You get a mushroom, you grow, you double in size, you get the plant, you throw fireballs. Like, it's just very, they just pay off so well.
Yeah, I feel like you almost answered your own question, and like the original question was like, how do you feel about, being nostalgic for a thing that currently also exists? And I think like you said, those older properties just really, really hold up, and you could still give them to people. And as a game, people will like genuinely enjoy them. And I think it's a testament to the craft. And like you said about Mario's jump, it does change from sometimes it does change like maybe not from, it changes in eras, right? Like the Super Mario World mechanics are a little bit different than the NES versions of the game. And Super Mario 2,
Super
obviously.
Mario Maker makes that really clear.
Yeah, but they're so dialed in that there's fans of each of those generations too. So I think like it's polished enough that it usually always feels like a good game. So I think
the thing that they haven't changed is the animation, is that he always has to have hand up, feet apart. Like I think that's the thing that they stuck to, is like it's always that. But it was always about make sure the jump feels
right. But
it
feels like Mario. Like even if it's a little bit different here and there, the real stuff that people would notice, like it still feels like a Mario game regardless, and it feels good to play in those worlds and jump and stuff. And I think like, that's a testament to kind of the nostalgia aspect of it. I don't know.
I mean, the only other property I can think of that has continued to be this successful for a long time is Pokemon, which is still Nintendo. Obviously, I think it's the most profitable IP of all time. So massively successful, but even then, I don't feel like Pokemon has iterated quite. Maybe it has now. For a while, it hadn't iterated as much as Mario had, but obviously now we have Pokemon Go. We have the Let's Go series. There are like Pokemon Dungeons, obviously Pokemon Snap coming back. Can't wait for that. So I don't know. There's just something that Nintendo does with their properties that it's like they certainly milk them. I'm not going to tell you they don't. Pokemon Go makes them a ton of money. What's it is? Animal Crossing Island does the mobile app for Animal Crossing made a ton of money. The Mario Jump,
Pocket Camp,
Pocket Camp. That's it. Sorry. So they certainly know how to profit off of their properties, but they just seem to refuse to release things that suck. And then when you think about Zelda, like I genuinely think Breath of the Wild is one of the best games ever made.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is off of one of the best franchises that's ever existed in video games. Some of the other best games ever made, like Ocarina of Time, that still so many Japanese devs. If you interview them, they'll be like, we were inspired by Ocarina of Time. Nier Automata, when they were picking the map size, they were literally like, we just made it the same size as Ocarina of Time. It's like Nintendo quality too good.
And for Mario specific, and I agree with Zelda too. Although I think there have been some worse Zelda games.
Agreed.
There's been some misses. The CD versions of those. I forget the official title.
But there have been some great ones. But with Mario, they had a run where every time a new system would come out, they would come out with an amazing Mario game for it. Super Nintendo, you had Mario World. The 64 had Mario 64. The GameCube had Sunshine. I don't think that was quite up, but it was still very good. And then the Wii had the Galaxy games. So it's like they had a run where it was just, you knew when a new Mario game was coming out, it was going to be quality. And it was going to be, at least an 8 or a 9 and maybe even just like an all-time classic.
I will say...
I'm looking at a list here of the worst Mario games ever made. We've got Mario Party 10, which I actually think is fair. A lot of really strange choices.
I mean, you could put all the Mario parties on that list as far as I'm concerned.
Disagree with that one.
Also, yeah.
Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, which I believe is the Wii U one, was fine. Still not a terrible game. Super Mario 64 DS, I never played.
It was okay. I mean,
they list New Super Mario Bros. 2. People hated New Super Mario Bros. 2.
I thought it was fine. It wasn't great, but it
it just said it lacks creativity. What a small criticism. And then, wow, the literal worst they have on this list is Mario Sports Superstars.
Yeah,
which is again, it's the 3DS.
I think
game.
like if you go into some of the tie-in stuff, probably the original Mario and Sonic at the Olympics or something. Some of that stuff probably doesn't hit super well, but. I don't know, like that's a long shot away from like the canon Mario games where they really, take care to make sure those things are polished up nicely.
Yeah, someone here has listed Mario's Time Machine as their least favorite.
Mario's Missing.
I played shit out of Mario's Time Machine as a kid.
I haven't even thought of that game.
I know.
Mario,
I guess there are a lot of Mario games.
There's a lot more than we would think. But I will say during that montage section at the end of the Direct, when they showed each like major canonized Mario, I was like, wait, isn't there more in between this? Are they leaving something out? Obviously they're leaving out Galaxy 2, but in there, it just like my memories of playing Mario over the years, I was like, what was I playing between all these Mario games? But it just, I don't know, those games stick with you. Like any great like medium or like thing that you experience in entertainment kind of sticks with you. Great movies do the same thing. Like they kind of define a place and time for you and you attach your emotions to that. And that there's nostalgia there. Also, you can't trust anything we're saying because we're all nostalgia as fuck. Like
that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But also speaking of like the game and the franchise in a historical context, people have argued that Super Mario Brothers saved video games because the market completely crashed in 1983. There were way too many systems. There were way too many games. Just
and the games were kind of bad.
The quality was all over the place. Yeah, and then Nintendo kind of came out and was like, "No, we're going to establish some sort of standards here. We're going to have a seal." And then that game was just huge, and it was it was a phenomenon. And so I think that's where it gets a lot of love too. It came out at the right time to just have this major impact and really bring the industry back, because it was we would still have video games today, but it would be a lot different.
Home consoles in particular were what was like crashing super hard.
That's right.
And bringing like they did a whole, I just watched the Netflix documentary and they revisited
so good.
It's really good. I have gripes because I'm like just a super nerd, and I was like they had access to all these people and they could have asked them such better questions and told so many more stories, and
a lot of them are still alive, which is so great.
I love these snazzy graphics, but just let me talk more to the
I did not know that Kirby was named after the lawyer that like saved Nintendo. Basically, I had no idea. I was like, holy shit, that's so cute. Cute, very lawyery old man.
What a tribute.
Kirby.
I mean, I'm sure he didn't look as much like Kirby in his younger days, but he definitely does now, which helped the story quite a bit. But yeah, that one's been out there a while. They do tread some ground, like I could do a whole podcast episode about the way that documentary is constructed and what they're talking about in there. But I think to Brian's point, Nintendo is largely credited for getting us out of the that great there was like
it was just a cataclysm, and they were just kind of emerged out of it. And then later Sega,
the great crash of the the late 80s or early 80s, late 70s. So with Mario, particularly in the home consoles, and obviously Donkey Kong in arcades is another thing that kind of brought it back, and they touch a lot of that in King of Kong too, the beginning of it too, I think. But yeah.
So yeah, we'll move on and put a bow on this. But what were your highlights from the direct? I thought it was very effective. I feel like Nintendo hopefully still has more games coming out this year and not just this isn't their own. They do tend to like I said, have these announcements shortly before the game actually comes out. So I'm hoping for more. For me, yeah, just the 3D All-Stars. I feel like it's what everybody wanted. They delivered. I wish there was Galaxy 2, but I'm still going to buy it.
Yep. I don't feel like I have like one standout highlight from this direct. I'm just going to say overall, I felt like it was a strong direct. I love it when they like drop something on us that we don't entirely suspect. And they have some creative things in it when in theory they could have just re-released a bunch of Mario stuff on the Switch and that would have been enough for a lot of people. So I just continue to really like the direct format. I like that they're themed and that we get little bite-sized chunks every now and then rather than these like huge conferences that have bits that I tune out of and bits that I pay more attention to. So I just really like the way Nintendo does these. I'm always excited for them, even if it's a property I don't really care about.
I 100% agree. The whole thing is a highlight for me. Anytime we get older games updated for a newer console, it means those games can live longer and people can experience them more easily. I think that's a win for everybody across the board. I will say, however, I do got to give shout outs to Super Mario Sunshine. I know a lot of people are divisive about that game. They think it's bad. And for context, if you weren't around during when that game came out, like water just didn't look like that or move like that or act like that in games. Right. And that was cool as hell playing that game and being able to do that with like the flood system and clean stuff and suck it up and all that. Like that stuff is amazing. You should play that game. It's really cool. I know some people think it's bad, but like if you did all the 8 red coin challenges, that's why 8 red coin challenges got good. Like the intense and hard platforming with those sections where they remove flood and you're doing like incredibly difficult areas. I mean, I don't think it was that hard, but it was harder than we had experienced in like Mario 64.
Not for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Obviously, not for me. But no, I died a lot. For sure. But yeah, I think the whole thing's a highlight, and it's what an exciting day to be a Mario fan, you know?
I also like, did anyone know this direct was coming?
Absolutely
or was
not.
this, I thought it was a complete surprise, right? I like that.
They just dropped it.
That was great too. Just random, Thursday morning and then holy crap, I just saw it blowing up on Twitter and so I love stuff like that. That's super fun. Okay, let's move on to non-Mario related stories. Another big one of the day, speaking of games and the internet, Gamespot got in a little bit of hot water over an Army partnership they did with the National Guard. They tweeted what was it? It was a sergeant from a sergeant from the Army National Guard, and he was going to give his Gamescom like sort of favorite moments of the festival, and then they followed that up with, to learn more about the Army National Guard, visit this place. It was weird. It was on their main Twitter account. It was kind of, which typically is news and features and stuff like that, and there's all this, and then all of a sudden there's this obvious partnership there. A lot of their staffers got mad about it, and and we heard from some people saying, hey, don't, you're taking shots at people in the military. That has nothing to do with it. The weird thing was just this kind of I think it just caught people off guard that this was I don't know, it just felt very awkwardly done.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway here is, and we, this isn't the first time we've kind of reported on a similar subject. Obviously, the Twitch partnership with the military and them having ran that like fake sweepstakes and getting kind of banned momentarily, and like having some of their privileges revoked and things like that. At the core of the discussion and argument, I think is that the military should not be leveraging entertainment platforms to recruit kids, or to glorify the military to people who are still figuring their stuff out. I don't know. I don't know if that's like too much of a personal, like subjective opinion, but when it comes down to it, I think and obviously there is a large demographic of people who play video games who are adults and can make decisions for themselves. And there's always a lot of like militarization and glorification in games in general, like Call of Duty and, pretty much every game that has like a military or like combat aspect to it, you could argue, glorifies the military in that way. But I think where it gets weird is building up a Twitch channel or identities in which, I guess in GameSpot's case, it's extra weird because you you have personalities, you have online personalities, writers and critics and people who there's a large audience for that they trust these people. And when you make a partnership like that with the military, you're kind of intrinsically saying that these people are on board and support everything that the military is doing.
Yes.
You know, they supporting like military actions and decisions, as well as like the encouragement of recruitment and stuff. And everybody who works at a company is an individual and has their own opinions and perspectives. So being an employee of GameSpot and being put in that position where it's like, whoa, I don't endorse this. Like, I don't endorse, you know, the military and the actions the military does, or decisions they make, or even the idea that we would use our entertainment platform to recruit from. Like, it seems, I think the Austin Walker tweet was like, this is such a betrayal for the people who work here at GameSpot, and I agree, and I see where that's coming from, because the people who do the day-to-day grind, who are reporting on video games, covering video games, reviewing video games, and who you are like kind of aligning yourselves with, you know, in terms of like personalities you enjoy and things, they didn't have a say in whether or not this partnership was going to happen, right?
That was a corporate decision.
Yeah, corporate decision. Completely different sales and marketing team said, "Hey, this is how we're going to make the site a lot of money. We're going to team up with the government, and you know, we'll do it in that way." And I think that's where things get increasingly gray. I don't know if I'm speaking about this intelligently enough, so I'll hand it off to one of you two. Those are just like kind of my off the cuff kind of impressions and reactions.
I think the issue was actually that it was on social. So this has happened before and will happen forever. Is partnerships between games media and the military. We did it at IGN. I did personally refuse to be in the military sponsored content, especially as a foreigner. I was like, I don't condone a lot of what the US military has done. I do not want to be a part of this. It certainly had an impact on the Australian army several times, where the US basically just sent the Aussies out to die. So it's like, it's definitely a thing that I was like, I don't want any part in this.
Yeah.
And they were okay with that. But these sponsorships won't continue to happen, because obviously it is the job of the military to recruit, and they also have more money than almost anyone else in the entirety of the United States, except maybe pharmaceuticals. I still think the military would probably win.
You're probably right.
So they have tons of money, and games media needs money, so it's going to keep happening. I think where it gets bad is when it's on a social feed, which is generally reflective of editorial. If it's just an ad on a site or a pre-roll on a video, it's separate. When you're using GameSpot's social media feed to recruit is where I think it gets very uncomfortable. And I think some of the discomfort probably does come from gamers collectively acknowledging that we enjoy playing games that are set in war.
Sure.
Because aiming is fun. It's a fun mechanic. Aim and to shoot is fun. The variety that you can get in guns and video games is fun to play with. That's no different to going to a shooting range. It's fun. It's a great time. But I think it's when we have this acceptance of, we enjoy doing this thing. We enjoy the action. We enjoy the stakes. But we also recognize that this is fake and that what we're doing is not real. And so when you take away that falsification and you see the military being like, oh, you like that? Come work for us. Is when we're like, no. Okay, look, we like it, but we don't want it to be real. And I think it just gets into this like messy water of trying to separate those two things that just becomes uncomfortable. The reality of it becomes uncomfortable.
That's such a good point, because I think when you think about video games, this is something strictly that we do for fun. This is entertainment. This is, it's no different than, a lot of other things that you do, reading a book or having all kinds of hobbies. And when I think of the military and when I think about going to war, that is the most serious thing that a country can do. I mean, you're sending people over to kill other people and be killed. That is, and to me, it just injects such a... I think, to me, that tension there is just what makes it feel so weird, because it's like, no, going to war is not a game, and to equate it like that, or you think that, like Alana said, you think that's fun. Well, have you thought about doing it for real? And just sort of blurring those lines between what's entertainment, and war should not be entertainment.
But it is, and again, that's why I think it's where I'm comfortable with it. Is where like, look, we acknowledge what we're doing, but we also collectively don't want this to be real.
Right.
So can you not try to make it real and just let us have this?
and yeah, the fact that it was on social, I think, yes, was a big part of it too. And yeah, the military does this through the NFL, so many sports leagues. I mean, they have, you go to a lot of these gaming sites and they have display ads up and all this. So yeah, it's been going on forever. They've put out their own video games, America's Army, back in the early 2000s. So it has been going on. It's not going to stop. But yes, it has always struck me as weird because it's injecting something that is incredibly serious and monumental, and it's something that should not be taken into lightly at all, because it's such you're talking about people dying, and to inject that into gaming where it's, yes, there can be violence, but it's all simulated. It always,
and we all acknowledge that again. Yeah. So it's like, I think, again, I get that they're going to keep doing it. EB Games Expo was, I don't know if it even exists anymore, the biggest gaming expo in Australia, and in like the live theater, they would often have like Navy ads, which made everyone really uncomfortable,
right.
Because of the reality of it and the relationship that is undeniable between video games and military. It's just, so it's not going to stop happening. And I've seen people be okay with it under certain circumstances. It's just when you have a sergeant presenting us with his top picks of video games on, again, a social feed that is usually used for the editorial team to talk about what they're actually writing. This one just went a bit too far.
Yeah, felt very Starship Troopers. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they took it down, from what I can tell, talking to friends who work there, because the sponsor actually saw all the negative feedback and asked them to take it down. I'm not positive if that's correct, but that's what I think happened there, rather than them choosing to take it down themselves. And having worked for companies like that before, it would be that CBS, who was obviously their parent company, pushed it through. I'm sure many people in the editorial team were against it before it even happened, but often when you work for those companies, you don't have any control over what your sales team does. And I will say, like, Rooster Teeth is so good about it compared to IGN, in that, like, at Rooster Teeth, you can say no to a sales deal. But you'd be like, no, we're absolutely not doing that. Like, if they tried to sponsor the Daily, if the Army tried to do it, we would just say no.
Right.
There's a fly on me. Get out of here. But if you're working for a company like IGN or GameSpot, your sales team says, we sold this, here's what you have to do, and you don't have a say in it.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that team had absolutely no choice. It sucks for them. I hope nobody blames them personally. If you're going to get angry at anyone, it would be CBS Interactive that you would get angry at, and none of that actual editorial stuff at all. They have literally no say.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of people want to get into the weeds about, like, oh, this is anti-patriotic, or oh, you're against the military, or like, don't call it this sergeant, and things like that. And that's not what this is at all. There should be boundaries.
To be clear, I totally am against the military.
Yeah, same. Like,
me too.
Yeah.
But I don't think that applies to everyone. That's correct. And I'm definitely not trying to disrespect that dude. I don't think, like, I kept being like, he's a really good presenter.
Right.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with him.
Great.
It has nothing to do with him personally. No.
I think it's kind of like what you're saying, Alana, like, or maybe this is me extending it a little bit, but there should be a series of boundaries there for the military in which they do these types of things and recruit in the way they go about it. And
sure,
like GameSpot should have been
aggressive and manipulative. And like you said before, for young people especially who maybe haven't developed the ability to correctly separate those two things, I think it's dangerous. But I think it also sucks for the older gaming audience just to have that pushed on them when they're just like, I don't want to conflate publicly the idea that playing Call of Duty means I condone war. I'm certainly not for you changing the narrative in Call of Duty to make it look like the US didn't do something they did and all that. It's especially on social media, having it be public just implies a lot lot of the audience that I don't like. Sorry to cut you off there.
No. I think you said it much better than I could have. So thank you.
Thank you.
And especially, I don't know. Well, yeah, we could talk about this forever. Let's
just icky.
I'd rather just talk about Mario forever, but
that's what I know. Let's hit another couple stories very quickly. Madden 21 came out. It is a huge mess. Lots of people. It has a 63 on Metacritic, which indicates mixed reviews at best. The user score is a 0.03. Now, those are negative a lot of the times, but not a lot of new content, very buggy. This is the problem when you do yearly games like this. There's going to be lots of recycled stuff, and it's just had a lot of
especially
issues.
difficult in COVID times.
And that's why I feel like when they talk about $70 games and EA and 2K being the ones to usher that in, I'm like, no, you're not. You're not gonna sell people this Madden game, like next gen versions, for $70. People are not gonna fall for this. I don't know. In some ways,
I think they will.
Yeah, sports fans will. It's a whole different. There are people who only play sports
but
games.
Then who's pissed, right? Like, are they pissed enough to not buy a version?
No, like I only learned that recently, and it was specifically like, especially with Battlefront 2. You would think that Battlefront 2 was going to fail no matter what, because the response to the way that it was just very pay to win, the multiplayer, and that was even in the beta. You would have thought that would tank the whole game. And sure, they pulled that system out before releasing it, but it didn't matter. It seemed like everyone fucking hated it and the damage was done. Still sold well. Completely irrelevant. Didn't matter at all.
It's like Call of Duty. It's like they're always...
It doesn't matter. Like the negative reception is totally irrelevant. And I always wonder, like, is it because like the people who are, and I totally don't mean this condescendingly, but like so casual that they're only like buying a Madden, don't even see this online discourse?
Maybe.
Yes.
Like, are they not involved in the community? Or again, is it just that it's something they buy annually that they want to keep up with?
I think they're hardcore Madden players, because it is a competitive game, and they're people who I think they're pro Madden players who compete. So you have to stay up to date. And then I think it's a lot of kids who like, just playing the latest and greatest, who have no idea about, all the online kind of chatter going on. And yes, I think you're right. I think ultimately it's irrelevant. People make a lot of sound and fury online. They'll still buy it, and they'll complain until, I guess ideally for them, EA fixes the bugs.
You know what? That's a good point. Circling back around to Mario, if they ever did make a bad Mario game, I would want to own it anyway, because I want to know.
Yeah.
And as like sports fans, I'm sure they have, sports fans have their team, right? And their team has up years and down years. And maybe it's like that. It's like, well, Madden had a down year. Remember when it was so sucky, like back in 2000 or whatever? And they can kind of commiserate about it. So that makes a lot of sense what you're saying. But I kind of feel bad for these players, though. I feel like they deserve more. Like they've given EA so much more money than any other company for these Madden games. I feel like they just deserve a really good win. They deserve like the best football game that could possibly exist.
I wonder why this one was so bad. Like, I know like the FIFA community's been really unhappy with FIFA 20. But I think it's still reviewed relatively well, and like part of that is these games probably shouldn't be reviewed on the embargo. They should probably wait a little bit for testing the online servers properly and everything. But this, it seems like this one just had a lot of technical issues that my guess is COVID.
Oh yeah. From my understanding,
of course it's familiar. They always are. But that doesn't excuse bugs.
Yeah, from my understanding, the cycle that sports games are on is so tightly knit and so tightly paced that they're moving from one thing to the next and trying to implement new features so quickly. Like you said, they're turning them out on a yearly basis, and they probably have studios shifting workload to make it all come together. But then if you introduce any unknown factor, and COVID is a huge one, you're gonna have some missteps. You're gonna have some cut corners and things like that easily. Yeah, it's an easy comparison, I think.
It's a disruption for us, and we're just sending video files back and forth. But to do it with gaming and get everybody up to speed, it's just a different thing. And you're, if you have a family, you're home with family, and you got you might have kids running around. I can speak from experience. It's very different from just being in an office where yes, there are distractions, but it's not the same thing. You can tune out a lot of stuff. So all right, we will get to the questions in just a second, but first, guys, let's talk about AT&T 5G and RTX and our at-home virtual event, Rooster Teeth. We're joining forces with Samsung and AT&T 5G to kick things off for the upcoming RTX at home virtual event. We're creating a Ruby outdoor mural that you can add art to from home. You don't have to go, you can do it from home using the Mark, M-A-R-K augmented reality app. Just download the Mark app, start creating your own Ruby art starting on September 5th through the 7th. So there you go, get to work. And I know you Ruby fans, you'll come up with something awesome. Each night, fans' designs will be projected onto the mural wall. You can see yours come to life on social. If you're on the AT&T 5G network at home, you can access Plus mode through the Mark app. So you'll get the highest res video and crystal clear images to explore on the app. And check out the new Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G powered by AT&T 5G. AT&T 5G requires compatible plan and coverage not in all areas, but here are some of the new features you can try out on the device. Cloud gaming. Sound like fun. You've heard a lot about cloud gaming, huh? Well, it'll be available with the power of 5G. Try out cloud gaming with high-performance experiences brought to you by the newest Samsung devices powered by AT&T 5G. The Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G also has 120 Hz adaptive display that automatically adjusts the refresh rate according to the content you're viewing, and an
Which is actually very cool.
Very cool. And an intelligent battery that optimizes for your gameplay. That's awesome. So head over to att.com/Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G to learn how you can get the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 5G for free, or the Galaxy Note 20 5G Ultra for $299.99 for a limited time. There you go. And you can also go to www.mark.app to download the Mark AR app to take part in that RTX at home virtual event. So check that out. Yeah. And guys, let's talk about Raised by Wolves. Have you heard about this? It sounds awesome.
Very curious.
It's from visionary filmmaker Ridley Scott, the Ridley Scott. In his U.S. television directorial debut, Raised by Wolves is an HBO Max original that explores questions of humanity and ideology against the backdrop of a strange and perilous new world. That sounds cool. I'm hooked. I'm in. After Earth has been virtually destroyed by a holy war, oh, that's freaking me out, 2 androids are tasked with raising children on a mysterious uninhabited planet. As the burgeoning colony of humans threatens to be torn apart by religious differences, the androids learn that trying to control the beliefs of humans is a treacherous and difficult task. It sure is. This is a sci-fi story of family, human emotion, and the hope of building something new. You got to check this out. It's Ridley Scott. Come on, it's what more do you want? It's Ridley Scott.
What else do you want?
Yeah, Blade Runner, Black Hawk Down, Alien. Come on. I don't have to tell you anymore. Tune in to the premiere of Raised by Wolves on September 3rd, only on HBO Max, and subscribe now to the official Raised by Wolves companion podcast on iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So there you go. That podcast is going to have the official companion podcast, hosted by Holly Frey, starting on September 3rd, taking fans behind the scenes of the show. So yeah, definitely subscribe. You get some behind the scenes action. All right, let's get to the questions. These were sent to our official Twitter at Inside Gaming. Let's see here. Oh, somebody asked Matt Tilby, do I think we'll ever see that long awaited Mario 3D collection? If so, are you buying it? Yes, I do think we'll see it. I think there's a really good chance. Yes,
I might see it, yeah.
Seems likely. Chances are high. Yes.
It's gonna happen, yeah.
Yeah.
Number one, the no fan Dylan. Oh, we love Dylan. Do you do anything fitness while gaming? I used to be able to play Destiny while running on the treadmill, and I would lift weights between rounds on Siege.
I work out in VR every day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Every single day.
I wish I could do that. I would probably take out one of my kids, though. For sure. They would lose an eye or something.
I think it does feel cool that it's like 2020 and I'm literally daily playing VR. Beat Saber. There's a boxing game. Supernatural VR is the one that I think is the best and hardest workout. It's really solid. Beat Saber is my favorite though because it's the most fun. But yeah,
that's a real Total Recall like situation. I feel like you're just physically training in AR. I used to have an elliptical set up, and I used to like grind in Borderlands while I would use elliptical, and it would just like trick me into like walking or using the elliptical for like 2 or 3 hours at a time.
Yeah.
And you'd like set programs or whatever to do it. Oddly, first-person shooter games okay while doing that, but third-person, anytime where you move the camera around, I almost took myself out a couple times.
You'll like accidentally lean. I had that with Gears of War. I used to do it on a treadmill, and then I would like sometimes almost walk off the treadmill.
Yeah.
Which is like you wouldn't think is that hard. I've also played a lot of DS on like a stationary bike, so yeah, stuff's great.
Well, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I don't do anything physical while playing unless I'm throwing the controller. That's
I feel like
exercise I get.
I feel like I should. You could buy like just there's like a weight with like pedals on either side, And I had a friend who used to do that, and that's probably a pretty good way. But the idea of like getting super sweaty while playing games is kind of a bummer to me. But
it certainly happens with because I use the Oculus for everything, the Quest. I've had to change the foam padding on the inside recently because it does get really sweaty.
Is the Quest good? Do you like it?
I love it. Okay, huge fan. Yeah, that's
awesome.
It's great.
Matt Monies asks, there are rumors about the Xbox Series S being $100 less than the Series X. He's talking about the stripped down, sort of the Lockhart codename console. With the PS5 digital version having the same discount. However, Series S is supposed to be a weaker console. Could that potentially hurt Xbox if Sony's digital-only console is as strong as its disc version? That's an interesting question.
I think we get spoiled in gaming, and I don't know if this happens in other industries, but our rumors tend to be true, and I think that's like a trap in itself. Like a lot of rumors that we hear oftentimes tend to be true. Obviously, there's a lot that aren't, but I think in the grand scheme of things, they tend to be. But in this particular case, I'm just kind of waiting to see what Microsoft says. I can't imagine, like I always imagine Lockhart as being like a discless version of the Series X. And like the power element of it, I feel like wouldn't change too much because they already have Xbox One X, and they're going to split the difference between the new generation and the old. Doesn't really make sense to me. But again, I haven't like been in the rumor farm on that one, so I'm not sure like what's more likely and what's not. But I mean, for this stuff, I would say
I would need a Digital Foundry breakdown.
Yes,
on this. Those
as much as I love that, like to answer the actual question of like, could that potentially hurt Xbox if Sony's digital-only consoles is as strong as its disc version? My answer is ultimately no. People don't care as much as they maybe let on. I think most people care about like, you know, which is weaker and which is stronger insofar as they've already decided which one they want and they want to use it as an arguing point. So like people are looking to see like, is the Xbox stronger? Is the PlayStation stronger? Because they already want the Xbox, so they want to shit on the PlayStation, you know? Like I think for the most part, people have already made their minds up and a lot of people have had loyalty to systems going back decades at this point. So no, I don't think that it would hurt the Xbox if Sony's digital-only console is as strong as its disc version. I don't think it will make much of a difference to anyone.
Yeah, I don't think if it's, I don't know, super cheap, maybe that'll people will
price for sure, but
be into that. But yeah, I think it'll be plenty powerful enough. So I think it'll be okay. Gabriel Lecompte asks, the Game Pass business model seems to eliminate the thinking before buying barrier. Do you think this could make studios take more risks on new projects, maybe with a lower budget, and result in more innovative games on the long run? I think they mean in the long run. I think it is. Microsoft has said they've noticed people kind of trying more things because if you've paid your $15 or whatever, then what's the, you know, they've already got your money. You might as well try it. And the streaming services have said also that they notice people kind of experimenting with genres that they wouldn't have normally. I don't know, maybe.
That would be my answer as well. It's like,
yeah,
potentially. And I think it's a very case-by-case basis because the way that Game Pass works, as far as I can tell, for your game to be on Game Pass, Microsoft will pay you lump sum. So it's not like, how do the devs make money? People are only spending $1. You get the money before you're even on Game Pass.
Yes.
So like at what point in the development process is that happening? That's obviously a part of it. I don't know that you'll know you're going to be on Game Pass when you start developing a game. I think if you're developing a game for Game Pass, you can certainly be more creative and you don't have to worry about a financial risk because Microsoft is publishing it.
Right. It's subsidized.
And it is, and it is guaranteed to get an audience of people who may not play your game otherwise because it's not free, but it feels like it's free. It's of no loss to them, at least. It's no financial loss. So like, I would say for companies that are guaranteed to be on Game Pass or potentially have some kind of deal with Microsoft, the answer would be yes, they will almost definitely take more risks. I think, but then it's also part of it. It depends on how long they're on Game Pass for. Because part of what works for indies with Game Pass, from both the data we've seen and a lot of studios coming out about it, is when they say when we were on Game Pass, we had so many downloads that it spread word of mouth that then when we were off Game Pass, we made like triple the amount of money that we had before we were on Game Pass.
Yeah, they all love
comes
it.
Down to, it seems to have been really good for indie studios. But that comes down to still you need people who are on Game Pass to collectively really like your game. yes and no.
Yeah,
It's complicated.
It's certainly going to be a very interesting case study because it changes a lot of things in terms of where the money comes from, and that usually changes like how you approach a game, right? Like, I mean, you could take it all the way back to the arcade games where arcade days where games are designed to like for you to pump quarters into them. We have certain limitations like that in modern gaming now. Tutorial sections should be this long, the first level or the game loop should be explained this fast. This is how you retain. And this happens a lot more in like mobile game development too, where they're trying to track how fast they can get somebody to spend money, basically. And I mean, that stuff is happening in AAA game development. It's happening in like, I guess we don't have really a B tier of games anymore. Or mid tier that's kind of
RIP double A.
But yeah, double A. But I think those limitations are there, and anytime you shake up those limitations, I think you can get that fun experimentation, and that's good. That's like a very, very good thing to introduce into the marketplace. But also now, if you don't have those restraints, the type of games you're going to make, you will change too, and that could be bad if sections drawn out too long. You know, maybe somebody's new first level is now like 30 minutes instead of like 5 minutes. Like according to the old limitations. I mean, I'm in the weeds on like design theory stuff here, but I think like
that still counts no matter what though, because like if you look at completion rates, right? Most people don't even come close to finishing every game that they play. It's so uncommon.
Oh yeah.
That I think that probably goes beyond Game Pass, but I guess like the Game Pass thing is selling people on it so that you'll make more money when it comes off Game Pass. In theory, is a big one.
Yeah.
I do think we might be looking at kind of a Netflix-y situation where Netflix just throws money at people to make
that's
stuff.
Definitely what they're doing.
And
that's what Xbox Game Studios are.
Exactly. And so I think that can only help, the industry just in terms of, I don't know, ideally like making creative new stuff or maybe taking some risks because like Alana said, the thing is being subsidized and funded by Microsoft. So you really can't lose. And
the good news about it is that for all of those Xbox Game Studios games, they, in theory, won't have to go games as service. I'm sure they're still going to do some of those, but
you can
it
just
means
make an
that,
actual game.
right, we don't have to worry about them heading in the direction of microtransactions, which I was worried about for a while. Never been worried about that with PlayStation, but with Xbox I was, and now it's like, I don't think they're going to make Obsidian do that because Game Pass is their revenue, so we don't necessarily need microtransactions in those games.
And does that mean you'll get less Battle Royale clones now? I don't know, but I think that's the kind of the decision making I'm pointing at. Like the very even type of game that you would approach to make for that debuts on Game Pass or whatever now changes because you don't have like that set amount of like investment capital. You don't need to pitch all these different publishers to say like, hey, we're going to make a game that's like this other game that's widely successful. They can kind of just focus on a passion project, and in a lot of ways that's really cool.
Yeah, and they're still obviously trying to round out Game Pass and just get as much content as they can, and they probably would want a variety of things, not just a bunch of Fortnite knockoffs. So
that's probably how we got the Gunk instead of like another SteamWorld game. My guess.
Yeah,
true.
Let's do one more. This one from Christian Eulenberg. Do you think Microsoft and Sony should have delayed their console launches until next year? We still don't know the release dates, although I find it funny that Nvidia beat them to the punch, but it feels like they should have pushed back these consoles from the start. I don't know. I mean, without knowing behind the scenes what's going on, I say just put them out and let's see. I mean, unless there's some like, I don't want them to put them out if they're not ready and there's some big design flaw or whatever. But I don't know. Actually, what do you guys think?
I have almost no opinion.
Yeah.
Like, very similar to you, Brian. It's like, I'm like, you put them out whenever you want. I don't have any thought that it feels like they should have been pushed back or they should be delayed. I'm just like, there's a business. Operate however you wish to as a business. Like, I wish I had something more interesting to say.
Yeah,
but just like,
it's tough because with games like Madden 21, you think like, that should have been delayed. Like that clearly wasn't ready, or something like Anthem, or various games where you can tell they didn't have the time that they needed. With hardware, I feel like they supposedly been in production since June. I would think that would be enough time. I would think they've been doing QA and development for years and years now.
Yeah.
So I don't think that necessarily means they're going to have a full, it might be limited supplies. And
that's what I expect more than broken supplies is limited
It might be the next couple of years until people really ramp up and start buying them. But I'm fine with it releasing now.
I think the thing we're talking about, and we don't have any time at all to do so, is the NVIDIA stuff is super wild to me and super cool. And that they came
Very
in
exciting.
and just were like, here you go, here's some new graphics cards. Don't even worry about next gen. And just like, oh my god.
And this one will last you this long. Like that 3090 is gonna fucking be around.
Yeah.
Feels like. I mean, that industry does move really fast, but I feel like that's like future proofed as hell right now.
Yeah.
I can't play games in 8K. I think it's 8K.
And I mean, even though NVIDIA is primarily like a CPU manufacturer hardware, they do a lot of other things, but they certainly do want to, like when ray tracing first came out, I was like, oh, this is going to be a big deal. And I think a lot of people at NVIDIA were probably thinking in terms of like, oh, this could be a big differentiator. This could like really hurt consoles if console games don't have this kind of technology. And even more so now, I mean, maybe it's not that big of a deal as we were seeing things plan out. I think ray tracing is amazing and I want it in everything. But yeah, I think NVIDIA would happily like make their own console or whatever, own box or whatever to try, and they do so with the Shield and try to sell you as many like GPUs that way or CPUs that way. Like they are primarily a CP or PC like focused entity, but to say that they wouldn't be thinking about like consoles and how they interact with that world as well, they definitely are. They're thinking about that.
I'm sure they're like first thinking AMD and then they're thinking PlayStation.
All right, well, let's call it there. That's all we've got for this week's Send News. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I think it's super important to get this working on because there's a lot of people who like wait a while before upgrading to the next console, since like typically when on launch day the consoles have so many issues. There's a lot of people that wait. So you're essentially, you're getting rid of a lot of your player base there if that is what ends up happening.
Especially if